This is the first book review I am doing where I don't actually have a physical book to show you. And that is because I listened to The Meaning of Mariah Carey instead of actually reading it. And if you are interested in this book, I do suggest you listen to it just because A, she reads it, so you get to hear her voice throughout the whole thing, and B, she sings in it. You cannot get that reading a book. There's a lot of impromptu singing. The only thing, and I actually don't know if this is in the physical book, but obviously you can't see pictures when you're listening to an audiobook. I don't know if there are pictures in the book, but I did find myself searching for a lot of pictures. But more than that, I was searching for videos because she talks about certain things that she went through in her life. She talks about music videos. And I did go down the Mariah Carey rabbit hole of watching some old music videos, watching some old performances, watching some old appearances that she did on different TV networks. You obviously can't get that in a book either, so you will hit up the Googler and look for some things if you read or listen to this book. And I also spent a little bit of money, not just on the book to download it from Audible, but on her music. I bought so many Mariah Carey songs. I love what was it? I don't know what the album was. I think the Fantasy album where you have Always Be My Baby and One Sweet Day. And she has done a lot. Let me tell you about this book. I'm not going to give anything away. I don't do spoilers here. But you do hear about her childhood growing up. It was a little tough for her because her mom was white, her dad was black. She had two older siblings who were darker than her. So they kind of resented her because she would be treated better when she was with their mom because she was light-skinned and everybody assumed that she was white. But when she was with her dad, or when people found out her dad was black, she dealt with a lot of racism. Her siblings, on top of that, have their own set of problems, according to her in the book. And once she gets past that, once she's old enough to actually leave her home, then she hooks up with Tommy Mottola, who was the head of her record label at Sony when she first got her deal. Then they end up getting married, so the power dynamic was not in her favor. And she accuses Tommy of doing some pretty crazy things. Just to name a couple, one is putting a bunch of cameras and listening devices all over the inside of her home, more so to track her. She even had security follow her around her own home. She wasn't allowed to leave her home without Tommy's permission or unless Tommy had people watching her. I don't know if he has responded to what she said. I did search the Googler for it and I didn't see anything, but she tells some pretty crazy stories. She talks about her romances after Tommy, some of which I had no clue about, like Derek Jeter. Didn't know that was a thing, learned about that. So it's pretty cool. Now, obviously you have to keep this in mind. This is all from Mariah Carey's perspective. And one thing that I did notice in the book is that she talks about a lot of the things that happened to her, a lot of the people that wronged her, a lot of the mistakes people around her made, but she never talks about one thing that she ever did wrong or one mistake that she ever made. The only time she admits to making a mistake or doing something wrong was when she was performing for Muhammad Ali and she was wearing a little pink dress and she was doing some shimmies and some shakes. And she said, I didn't even think about the fact that he and his family were Muslim and they probably did not appreciate my attire or my dance moves. And I think that was the only time she admitted to doing something wrong. And I'm thinking, I get that all of these people around you wronged you, but you can't write a whole book about your life and say that's the only thing you did wrong. So I just kind of I don't question how much of it is true. I question how much is left out. Because something that I was looking forward to reading was how she responds to her diva reputation. I mean, we've heard a lot about how she treats people, about how she's always late for everything. And she does actually talk about that. She just says time doesn't matter to her, but it does matter to other people around you when certain things are scheduled. And I think that's part of the reason she maybe has this diva reputation, but she didn't address any of it. Like, I think I just would have liked to see her address some of these negative things that we've seen without always being the victim. She talks about her breakdown. I don't know if she calls it a breakdown. I think she kind of does. She talks about what happened, when she went into TRL, and that became a big deal. People thought she was off her rocker. She didn't like the way Carson Daly didn't play along, and how she went into, it wasn't rehab, but she was exhausted and whatever else. It's a good book. It's a really good book. You get to see a lot of what happens, working her way up, the whole thing. She does kind of throw some shade at some other females in the industry, but she does it in code, so you kind of got to be following along to pick up on these things. One is Jennifer Lopez, the other is Celine Dion, and you can figure out who she's talking about by, quick Google searches. I liked it. I like the new songs that I have downloaded from iTunes to listen to. I give The Meaning of Mariah Carey 4 out of 5 stars. Remember, you can hear my latest book reviews on my podcast, Christina Reads All Day. If you have not yet subscribed, please tap that subscribe button and do the same thing here on YouTube. I don't know if you're listening on the podcast or if you're watching on YouTube. Either way, I like to give you a little bit of video and audio. Just the way I like my books. I like to visually see them when I read, and I like to listen to them. In fact, I say audiobooks are my new workout, because I can't just sit and listen to an audiobook. I have to be doing something, or else I'll close my eyes and just fall asleep. So it's my new exercise. I go on a walk and I listen to my audiobook. It used to be podcasts, and I still love podcasts. I mean, you can get so much value from listening to podcasts. I know for me, being a guest on podcasts is a way that I've grown my business. But I will say I prefer listening to nonfiction audiobooks to podcasts right now, just because there's so many amazing books out there that I got to listen to them. The nonfiction ones. I don't know. There's something about fiction that I prefer to read. And then with nonfiction, I prefer to listen to. Please tell me your recommendations at Christina All Day on Twitter and Instagram. I am there almost every day. Use the hashtag Bookstagram to find me and other people who are reading and reviewing books. Thank you so much for being here, for watching, for listening. And I will see you again very soon as I finish the next book I'm reading or listening to.